The apocalypse of high temperatures has arrived, and every household clings to their remaining resources to survive. Faced with the sobbing pleas outside the door, my saintly sister urged me to open the door and take a look. I reminded her that the situation is special, and we must prioritize protecting ourselves. However, my parents thought I was selfish and forced me to open the door. Little did I know that outside the door were zombies. And one bit down on my neck. My parents, however, resolutely abandoned me, pushing me out without hesitation and locking the door behind me. Living again, I reminded them once more, but they still told me to get lost. Later, when the apocalypse struck, they were barely surviving in the house, while I sent a photo of myself eating hot pot in the family group chat. So, how about it? Want to eat? Who are you showing that sad face to? Your sister's is yours. So what if I transfer this house to your sister? The scolding voices of my parents echoed in my ears, and it was only then that I realized I had been reborn. I looked up, and my parents were looking at me with impatience, while my sister had an innocent expression on her face. In front of me lay a contract for the transfer of property. In my previous life, my parents forced me to transfer the apartment I had worked hard to buy in the city center to my sister. But even if I eventually agreed, when danger struck, they still unhesitatingly abandoned me. I sneered coldly in my heart, but my face wore a proper smile. Of course, no problem, I'll have my assistant arrange it tomorrow. My sudden change in attitude left my parents and sister exchanging puzzled glances. I didn't pay much attention and neatly picked up the pen on the table to sign the contract. The first to react was my mom, her face instantly brightening as she said, "That's right. You and Yuyo are sisters. Sisters should never be divided." I smiled and said nothing. I have known about their hypocrisy for a long time. I packed the contract income and got up to walk out. The company still has some matters that need my attention, so I won't be back tonight. My parents responded with a perfunctory and didn't spare me a glance. The three of them had already huddled together to celebrate. Seeing this scene, my heart was pierced with pain for a moment. Why is it that they are all treated so much better than me and Sushinyo? After leaving the house, while waiting for the elevator, I took the contract out of my bag. I tore it up and threw it in the trash can. They don't treat me like a person and still expect to take advantage of my assets. Dreaming, I drove for nearly 2 hours back to the villa I bought a year ago at the foot of the mountain in the suburbs. I originally bought this villa because I liked the scenery nearby, and although I felt some pain over the money spent at the time, it has proven to be very helpful now. I looked at the calendar. There is still a week until the apocalypse arrives. The choice to be here is not only because of the remote location, but the key reason is that there is a bomb shelter underground in this house. The shelter is warm in winter and cool in summer, so when the high temperatures arrive, having this temperature-controlled bomb shelter will at least ensure that I won't die from the heat before going to bed at night. I asked my boss for a week-long leave. Starting tomorrow, I must immediately begin the work of procuring supplies. My motivation has always been strong, so the next morning I hired a cleaning service to tidy up my bomb shelter. At the same time, I drove to the city to purchase a batch of food supplies: 600 pounds of rice, 30 boxes of noodles, 200 pounds of flour, 10 boxes each of various flavors of instant noodles, and 500 boxes of bottled water. Considering the need to improve our meals, I also bought various chicken feet, duck necks, potato chips, beef cubes, milk, tea leaves, and beverages in bulk. As for daily necessities, for someone like me who uses 4 or 5 sheets of paper just to eat a meal, the first thing to get is 500 boxes of tissues. Next, I need to stock up on personal clothing, shampoo, body wash, facial cleanser, toothpaste and toothbrush, face towels, skincare products, and so on, all in bulk. In terms of medical supplies, I will try to recall the experience I accumulated from reading novels and buy all the medicines I can think of to bring home. Finally, I also stocked up on various food and canned goods for my little cats and dogs, as well as a series of essential items. After settling the bill, my mom called. "Why can't you go sign the transfer yet? What is your assistant doing?" My expression suddenly turned cold, and my voice was calm yet made my mom dare not throw a tantrum again. "Is that so? Since it's so troublesome, why don't we postpone the transfer for a while? I'm quite busy during this time anyway." My mom immediately changed her tone, and her voice became a bit more pleasant. "Hey, you know how impatient mom is. You go ahead and get busy, remind that assistant, and don't keep Yuya waiting too long." A plan suddenly formed in my mind, and I smiled slightly as I said, "How about this? I'll go home tonight and fill out some paperwork first." I was too lazy to listen to my mom's cheerful voice on the other end of the phone, so I hung up directly. After transporting everything I had gathered today back to the villa at the foot of the mountain, it was already past 8 o'clock. I originally didn't want to trouble myself to go back to the city, but thinking about the time being tight, I still drove over. It was already nearly 11 o'clock when I got home. If it were any other time, I can't imagine how displeased my parents would be after waiting so long. My mother first poured me a cup of hot water, her eyes constantly glancing at my bag. I took the cup and walked straight in, saying lightly, "Stop looking, there are no documents in the bag." As soon as I said this, my father couldn't sit still any longer. He stood up and pointed at my nose, scolding, "Su Shinja, what do you mean by this? Are you playing with us after making us wait so long?" I shot him a cold glance, put down my bag, and sat down on the sofa by myself. "If you're going to perform, you have to perform fully, right, Mom and Dad?" Dad glared angrily, while my sister pitifully said, "Sister, please don't be mad at Mom and Dad. If you don't want to give the house to me, I won't have any objections." As she spoke, tears welled up in her eyes and rolled down her face. Seeing this, my parents were heartbroken and rushed forward, wanting to hit me indiscriminately like they had countless times before. For Su Shinyo, I sat on the sofa, motionless, with a terrifyingly dark expression. I coldly warned, "Are you sure you want to do this?" Upon hearing this, my father paused for a moment. My mother, seeing that I was different from the usual pushover, spoke to me for the first time. "We're all family, so don't be so impulsive all the time." In the past, I always reminded myself that we were family, so I endured the grievances and swallowed my pride. But it wasn't until the moment of my death in my previous life that I truly understood. They have never treated me as family. At this moment, I only feel disgust and don't want to stay for even a second longer. I quickly opened my phone and threw it to Su Shinyo. "Facial recognition, do it yourself." My parents looked at me warily, and I shrugged, saying, "In the name of Su Shinyo, I have applied for a family card, and I will deposit 100,000 every month." Upon hearing this, the eyes of the three of them sparkled with excitement. I watched the three of them as if I were watching a show. At first, Su Shinyo was still a bit cautious and hesitant, but under her parents' urging, she had no choice but to nervously complete the facial recognition. I took back my phone and went straight out. They didn't even ask me if I wanted to stay at home so late, even if it was just for show. I casually found a hotel to stay in, and before sleeping, I received a notification on my phone that the money had arrived. In an instant, half of the resentment in my heart dissipated. The facial recognition just now was merely a step for the loan. I used some good stuff to borrow 1 million in the name of Su Shinyo. I was originally worried that the money wouldn't be enough to buy supplies, but now I don't have to worry. Don't blame me for being ruthless. It was you who wronged me first. The next day, as soon as I woke up, I hurried out to continue gathering supplies. When the apocalypse comes, water and electricity will definitely be cut off. I first hired a master to dig a well in the air raid shelter. At the same time, I bought 5 solar power generators, just in case. I also bought 3 sets of the same power equipment. In the event of an apocalypse, I might die without electronic devices, would be worse than dead. Then I bought 3 desktop air conditioners and a central air conditioning system. The renovation worker took the money and got to work without asking any questions. To prevent any issues with the air conditioning, I spent a lot to create a large cold storage. When the high temperatures hit, I can't afford to be cooked alive, although I don't know if I'll need them. I specifically bought 2 satellite phones to avoid the awkward situation of being cut off from information. Besides the high temperatures, I also have zombies to deal with, so 2 large machetes, 2 blast shields, 2 blast forks, and 2 baseball bats. I heard that scents can confuse zombies, so I bulk ordered 30 boxes of air fresheners. At the same time, I also bought 10 drones. Zombies are attracted to sound, so if my home is overrun, I will use the drones to lure them away. The ingredients are ready, but I still need to be able to cook. With the apocalypse coming, we can't rely on water, electricity, or gas. We can only live like primitive people, and firewood is the safest option. To prevent carbon monoxide poisoning, I bought 2 more fireplaces, both equipped with chimneys for ventilation. Additionally, the size of the chimneys ensures that zombies cannot crawl in, not even the smaller ones, during this time. I would occasionally check the surveillance on my phone to see how things were at home. Sushino has already quit her job. The house is piled high with shopping bags of all sizes. I estimate that the 100,000 has probably been spent almost entirely. The camera is ultra high definition. I zoomed in and saw that it was all clothes, bags, cosmetics, and jewelry. I couldn't help but sneer. Go ahead, alive father, when you die. Wear all these jewels and become the most respectable zombie among the undead. After returning home, Mom called again to urge me, just not daring to shout like before. Jija, why hasn't your assistant come to find us today? I picked up the iPad and opened the surveillance. My dad and Sushino were surrounding my mom, listening to us on the phone. I chuckled lightly. Not gone yet, I'm not sure either. Dad on the screen clearly seems to be about to lose his temper again at my attitude. Mom pushed him back and smiled. Oh, in that case, Jija, you should urge him a bit more. At this moment, Sushino shook her mother's arm. I frowned slightly, wondering what kind of trouble was about to unfold. Mom nodded at her. Jija, I see you still have a lot of clothes with tags on in your bedroom, and there are quite a few pieces of jewelry on your vanity. Anyway, since your salary is so high now, I've let you take everything. You don't mind, do you? I scoffed. Does it matter if I mind? Haven't you already given it to her? Hearing what I said, the 3 of them looked displeased. Dad scolded with a stern face. You ungrateful thing. Who allowed you to speak to your mother like that? What's yours is your sister's. Don't be so selfish. I raised an eyebrow slightly, looking down and tapping my nails. I can't be as selfless as you, treating someone else's daughter as your own. Uncle Goo would definitely be happy to hear this. After saying that, I hung up the phone, leaving them to fight among themselves. What I just said was nonsense, but Mom has a white moonlight first love, and I've always known about it. This has always been a thorn in Dad's heart, and now, I will pull this thorn out. Bloodied and raw, in the surveillance footage, Dad's face was as dark as it could get. Mom grabbed his arm and started explaining, saying that I was talking nonsense. Meanwhile, Sushino sat beside them, wiping her tears and questioning Mom if she was Dad's biological daughter. I was eating watermelon while watching the drama unfold. Make a fuss, the more intense the better. Isn't this more interesting than a TV drama? I can't wait to see the expressions on their faces when they find out I've scammed them out of over $1 million. I hope they let me see it before they die. I am so looking forward to it. After that, I didn't answer any of their calls. Anyway, they don't know the address of my villa. As long as I want, they won't be able to find me. After that, I went to the supermarket and bought a large batch of frozen food. I don't know how long it will take for the end of the world to come. Generally, meat can be stored for 4 to 12 months under freezing conditions at -18 degrees. So at the beginning, I first ate relatively fresh meat, and later I would eat these frozen foods. At the same time, I started having farmers deliver vegetables to me. All of them are long-term storage foods like cabbage, potatoes, and sweet potatoes, and I put them all into the small cold storage. For safety, I had the master fully renovate the villa, nailing all the windows shut and leaving only 2 ventilation openings. The entire villa has been transformed into a bank vault. Even a Gatling gun can't break through. I've done everything I can. The rest is up to fate. I hope the food I've stored can last until the end of the apocalypse. After all this, there are only 2 days left until the apocalypse arrives. I went to my favorite hot pot restaurant for a feast, attracting the attention of passers-by who thought I was a food challenge vlogger, almost eating like a giant. Then I packed all my favorite desserts to take home. I don't know when I'll be able to eat out again. To save electricity later, I went to the bookstore and bought all the books and comics I was interested in. When the cashier asked, I made up an excuse that I wanted to donate them to the mountainous areas. After returning home, I downloaded countless novels and TV shows and movies. On the last day before the apocalypse, I carefully checked all the doors, windows, and ventilation openings one last time. Then I went upstairs and moved Tuan Tuan and Xiao Yuan's nest, as well as the bathroom, down. Starting today, the three of us will be living down here. At this moment, my phone rang again. It was Su Xinyo. I didn't answer it and picked up the iPad to check the surveillance. The usual harmonious atmosphere among the three people in the picture was gone. Dad stood smoking not far away, Mom sat alone on the sofa in tears, and Su Xinyo was frantically calling me. They must have finally discovered the lone situation. Su Xinyo, unable to get through on the phone, threw her newly bought phone to the ground in frustration, jumping up and down in anger. It's all your fault. You pressured me like a death sentence to deal with that damn facial recognition. Now I owe $1 million, and all the money has been run off by Su Xinjia. I can't find her anywhere. What should I do? Dad extinguished his cigarette and for the first time showed an impatient expression toward Su Xinyo. Enough. What are you shouting about? We'll go report it to the police tomorrow. Mom looked up and said, but this house hasn't been transferred to Yu yet, Dad said angrily. What are you talking about, a house at a time like this? That woman doesn't want to give us the house at all. Don't say anything, just go report it to the police tomorrow. Once she's in prison, what does she have that isn't ours? Their argument came to a pause, and I watched with great interest. Still thinking about my money, I opened my phone. 23:59. I called Su Xinyo back. The three people in the surveillance footage were in a complete mess, and Su Xinyo, ignoring her mother's obstruction, answered the call and shouted, Su Xinjia, are you crazy? Hurry up and return the money and give me the house, and I might consider forgiving you. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Still dreaming when death is right around the corner, I called to tell you, the apocalypse is coming, and you will never find me again. The call ended, and the three of them looked at each other in confusion. Su Xinyo cursed, crazy person. What nonsense are you talking about? See you at the police station next time. I shrugged, turned off the iPad, and went to sleep. That night, the high temperatures indeed arrived as they did in my previous life. I could clearly feel that the temperature that night was hotter than usual, and both Tuan Tuan and Xiao Yuan did not sleep next to me but instead stayed in their corners. Early the next morning, I felt the obvious heat. I got up and ran to the first floor, where the temperature was even higher, pulling back the curtains. I could vaguely see the street outside through the iron plate, where the heat waves were surging. Due to the high temperature, the road appeared to be distorted and deformed. Enduring the heat, I ran back to the air raid shelter, quickly opened the fridge, and grabbed a bottle of black coffee to drink. Then I lowered the air conditioning temperature again. While washing up, my phone was already filled with various news updates. The temperature soared to 50 degrees overnight. The apocalypse may be approaching. A violent incident broke out in City S this morning. Are zombies really real? Opening the company group chat, the boss has already announced the holiday notice, and the rest are in an uproar. What's going on? Is the novel real? Is the apocalypse really here? Fortunately, I'm a deadbeat, and my family has stocked up on a lot of supplies. You have supplies, but I don't. Should I bravely rush out to grab some while the zombies haven't come yet? At this moment, the power is still on, so I laid out mats for the three of us on the beds. I picked up the iPad, and the faces of the three people on the monitor were pale. They didn't even dare to drink too much water. Su Xinyo broke down in tears. What are we going to do? There's not a single grain of food at home. Are we going to starve to death? I scoffed inwardly. In my previous life, it was the same at home. In the end, they chose to force me out to buy groceries. I braved the scorching sun and high temperatures, walking on the burning hot road, desperately fighting my way through the crowd to bring back a large batch of groceries. When I returned home, I nearly fainted, and my exposed skin was all sunburned and hot. But how did they do it? They not only didn't care about my health, but also looked at the ingredients I brought back with disdain, saying sarcastically, "What a waste. You only brought back this little bit. Are you trying to starve us?" And what about these? Are these even fit for human consumption? Can't you buy something a bit more upscale? You earn so much money yet you're still so stingy. But in the end, it was still them who enjoyed the food. I just watched the three of them staring at each other, like watching a silent movie. Meanwhile, I leisurely took out a small cake from the fridge and started eating while watching the show. After I finished the cake, they finally decided who would go buy the ingredients. They were worried about survival, but what about me? Go back to bed. When I woke up again, it was almost 12 o'clock, and my phone was bombarded with missed calls and messages. During the long time trapped in this golden cage, while the internet is still on, isn't this just like raising an electronic pet? Still three of them, watching them curse in frustration, I laughed until my stomach hurt. I want to keep this amusement and enjoy it thoroughly, and they, at this moment, seem unaware that a disaster has already arrived. I looked at the surveillance footage. The ingredients my dad brought back were very few. They are so picky, spoiled by my money, and live in a world detached from reality, buying only expensive and unsatisfying foods like shrimp, abalone, and crab, and they can't even cook these things. In the past, I always hired a maid to do it, so the food turned out to be extremely unappetizing, and none of the three of them wanted to eat more. Once they are away from me, or rather, away from my money, their hypocritical facade is stripped away, revealing their inherently selfish and greedy nature. Yet, despite this, they still look down on me. They think I only care about money, that I am full of the stench of copper, and that I am not as noble in ambition as they are. Indifferent to fame and fortune, this greedy, wanting it all attitude is truly disgusting. Opening the short videos, a flood of messages came pouring in. Some people were excited about the sudden changes in the world, some were wailing about being trapped at home again, and others were happily embracing their excuse to slack off. I sighed and turned off my phone. It was time for lunch. What could be more enjoyable than eating hot pot with the air conditioning on, drinking cold beverages, and watching TV? I took out the hot pot base I bought and boiled some water. I then plated the beef tripe, fatty beef, duck blood, shrimp paste, and so on one by one. Finally, I adjusted a dipping sauce and a sesame sauce, filled up the drinks, and turned on the TV. The happiness of life is that simple. I had a flash of inspiration, took a photo of this scene, and posted it in the family group with the caption, "Want to eat?" After sending it, I tossed my phone aside and focused on enjoying the hot pot. The first bite is often the happiest. This time I chose the combination of fatty beef with sesame sauce to complete my first bite. The fatty beef just pulled out from the spicy hot pot is tender and delicious, and the spicy flavor from the pot combined with the rich aroma of sesame sauce, so satisfying. After eating and drinking to my fill, I went to feed the two greedy ones again. It was only during their meal breaks that I remembered the three people I had left aside. I opened my phone, and the insults inside were even harsher than before. Ironically, I received private messages from each of the three of them. At this moment, they were still so in sync, all coming to apologize to me and asking if I could take him away alone. I raised an eyebrow slightly and took screenshots of the three of them and sent them in the family group chat, in the surveillance footage. The three of them saw what they had said, and their faces twisted together in disbelief. Then their insults directed at me turned into accusations against each other. "Dad, it's all your fault for insisting on this house. Don't you know that a cornered rabbit will bite?" "Mom, was this idea mine from the start? If it weren't for you saying that this child would block our family's fortune, I wouldn't have treated her so harshly." "Dad, that was what the master said. What does it have to do with me? Besides, I know you never liked Jia." As the topic threatened to trace back 500 years, it was ultimately Su Xinyo who ended the argument. She stood up and screamed in despair, shouting like a shrew, "What are you all arguing about? Can arguing bring food? I'm about to starve, and what you made is something even a dog wouldn't eat." Not only my parents, but even I was surprised. Su Xinyo has completely stopped pretending now. In the past, whenever there was a third party present, she would deliberately show a gentle and gracious demeanor. Only in front of me does she reveal her true colors. Under such extreme conditions, Su Xinyo finally couldn't hold it in anymore. She began to wail, throwing a tantrum and blaming heaven and earth. "I'm starving. Are you really going to watch me starve to death? I want to eat hot pot. I want to drink cold drinks. I don't care. Go out and buy them for me." Her parents looked at her in disbelief. Heartbroken as they questioned, "Yuyo, how have you become so unreasonable? You are the elegant young lady of the Su family. How can you behave so unladylike?" Su Shinyo completely broke down, shouting frantically, "What the hell does being ladylike matter at a time like this? Is surviving more important or is saving face more important? Besides, if it weren't for Su Shinja making money, what is this family worth? And you call yourself a young lady," with tears in her eyes. Mom grasped Su Shinyo's hand and worriedly said, "Yuyo, are you confused? What are you talking about? You have always been knowledgeable and sensible since childhood, unlike Jia, who has been blinded by money since she was young and even stole a gold ring. If you work for a few more years, you will definitely earn more than her." Su Shinyo shook off her mother's hand and pleaded, "That ring wasn't stolen by Su Shinja. It was stolen by me. You all need to take this and apologize to her. Asking her to forgive us and take us back." Upon hearing this, both Mom and Dad were stunned in place. Mom's face was pale, and I don't know if it was because she remembered how she beat me without reason when she found the gold ring in my pencil case when I was a child, or perhaps she remembered even more. She remembered every instance of mistreatment towards me since then. It's the same bowl of noodles, but Su Shinyo's bowl can hold 2 eggs, while I only have a bowl of plain noodles. Even though the family wasn't very well off at that time, they still treated Su Shinyo like a princess and prepared a party for her every year to celebrate her birthday. As for me, I can't even get a single blessing. Clearly, I am the older sister, yet I can only wear my 3-year younger sister's hand-me-downs. Even though the sleeves of that clothing are a bit short, the pants can only be worn as cropped pants. Then I had to be mocked at school by the elegantly dressed Su Shinyo. I closed my eyes, not wanting to continue counting anymore. The pain brought by family cannot be healed. Throughout life, people are actually healing their childhood. It seemed that Tuan Tuan and Xiao Yuan sensed my low mood, and they both ran to my side to nuzzle against me. My heart warmed, and I embraced the two of them. Even if childhood is broken and painful, the future is still worth looking forward to. If the wound cannot heal, rather than letting it fester and rot, it is better to cut it out decisively. That night, I received an apology text from my mom. She said that it was her own prejudice that made her believe I stole the gold ring, but deep down, she has always cared about me in hopes I can forgive her. To this, I just smiled and let it go. I turned off the screen and did not reply. I don't care, and how sincere can an apology be in such a situation? After all, even Su Shinyo can lower her head and show weakness to me. Their apologies are too cheap. As the zombie virus spreads, the already high temperatures are exacerbated. The government took emergency measures immediately, with news flooding in on phones and televisions. Turning on the television, the sound of the news report came through. "Citizens, please do not believe in online rumors, do not visit each other, do not gather, actively cooperate with government efforts, stock up on essential supplies, and refrain from all illegal and violent actions." I frowned and then opened the company group chat, where videos from various places were being shared. I clicked on it, and a bloody scene came into view. The limping zombies, moving unusually fast, were crazily chasing the people on the road. Those who were bitten began to twitch uncontrollably and then slowly stood up to pounce on the remaining survivors. On the road, various food items were scattered everywhere. Those who ventured out were looking for food to survive. In just one morning, several cities were paralyzed. I, who had originally felt at ease, suddenly became restless, especially underground. The air raid shelter was narrow and dark. From this perspective, it resembled an endless abyss. Not long after, I wasn't sure if it was an illusion, but I seemed to faintly hear a series of low growls. I hugged Tuan Tuan and Xiao Yuan tightly in fear, sitting on the bed without daring to move. Gradually, the low growl grew closer, making one's heart feel uneasy. Suddenly, a loud crashing sound came from upstairs, startling me and making me jump. Seeing this, Tuan Tuan immediately jumped out of my embrace, crouching towards the direction of the upstairs, baring its teeth and letting out a warning growl from its throat. At that moment, the door was slammed against again. Tuan Tuan started barking wildly. And I hurried over to cover its mouth and made a shushing gesture. Tuan Tuan was quite understanding. Seeing me like this, it stopped barking but still vigilantly stared in the direction of the zombies. Because of Tuan Tuan's shout, the zombies outside gradually increased in number, and the banging sounds became more frequent, making my heart race like thunder. I forced myself to calm down and immediately took out the drone I had bought earlier. I put on the highest SPF clothing and brought 2 bottles of air freshener, then ordered Tuan Tuan and Xiao Yuan to stay put and wait for my return. Tuan Tuan looked at me worriedly as I left, wanting to follow but too scared to do so, anxiously pacing back and forth. Seeing this, I could only quicken my pace. As soon as I opened the door, a wave of heat rushed at me, making it feel as if I were in a volcano. I rushed to the vent to release the drones, controlling them via the surveillance video to fly above the zombies' heads. The zombies were indeed attracted by this sound and stopped banging on the door. I then controlled the drones to gradually lead them away. As the zombies walked away, I endured the discomfort, quickly sprayed air freshener all over the areas near the door and windows. The smell so strong it made me want to vomit. After finishing this, I quickly ran back, feeling as if I had just been pulled out of water. Tuan Tuan and Xiao Yuan came over, with Tuan Tuan humming and circling around me, while Xiao Yuan jumped onto my shoulder and swatted at my face with her little paws. I knew they were expressing their dissatisfaction. I took out a can to comfort them and went to change my clothes. After checking the surveillance at the front door, the zombies had indeed walked far away and did not come back. At that moment, I suddenly thought of my parents and Su Xinyo when I opened the surveillance. The situation was too tragic to bear. Dad was bare-chested, while Mom kept fanning herself with a fan, and Su Xinyo was even more exaggerated, directly sticking to the air conditioner. In just a few days, it felt like the cheeks of the 3 of them had sunken in. I chuckled softly, got up, cut a watermelon, and took a photo to post in the family group. On such a hot day, having a bite of chilled watermelon is just so refreshing. Su Xinyo was going crazy in the surveillance footage, constantly calling me and sending voice messages. Dad couldn't stand it anymore. His brows furrowed deeply. "What are you going crazy about? Is it not hot enough for you?" Su Xinyo retorted. "Should we just sit quietly and wait to die? There's only a little rice left in the fridge. If we don't get supplies by tomorrow, we will starve." Dad angrily smashed a cup. "What are you so anxious about? Things will work out when we get there. Don't you understand? The country won't abandon us." He wasn't wrong about that. The latest government announcement was just broadcast on TV. We ask all citizens to maintain a state of home isolation, refrain from visiting each other, avoid gatherings, and actively cooperate with government efforts. All illegal and violent actions are strictly prohibited. We urge the public to trust the country. Relevant departments have already taken corresponding measures to deal with the sudden high temperatures and the virus. We will control the number of infected individuals as quickly as possible. Please remain calm in response. If you need assistance, please call the 24-hour hotline. Naturally, I trust the country, but I just don't know if the 3 of them can hold out until help arrives. Given their personalities, I opened the community owner group again, and it was filled with wails. Everyone is worried about how long these extreme conditions will last. Students are concerned about being overtaken during this time. Office workers are worried about not being able to pay their mortgage and car loans after months of not working, and the elderly are afraid they won't be able to withstand the disaster and will leave first. In addition, everyone reported the number of zombies near their respective buildings. Overall, the situation is not optimistic in any place. At this moment, the group suddenly exploded with activity. One person couldn't bear the pressure and jumped off a building. In an instant, countless videos were released. In the video, the zombies rushed forward like a game of stacking blocks, frantically devouring the person, creating an extremely bloody scene. When this person jumped off the building, the negative emotions that everyone had suppressed suddenly poured out. Countless wails and complaints filled the entire screen. And the group chat messages flashed so quickly that it was hard to see what the last person had said. I frowned deeply. Is there really no way out? That night, the negative emotions of the entire nation reached their peak. with countless suicide incidents jumping to the top of the news trending list. The country has unprecedentedly failed to control public opinion. However, soon after, a group of optimistic people released videos and messages. In the videos, I saw the military, police, doctors, as well as party members, civil servants, and a large number of volunteers all joining the fight. They braved the high temperatures, wearing specialized clothing, risking their lives to save people trapped in dire situations. The last sentence of the video was, "The reason you can still see this video is that countless heroes are risking their lives to maintain electrical safety. Please do not give up, hope will surely come." I couldn't help but tear up. Even after witnessing the most malicious calculations of human hearts, I still find myself moved to tears by such sincerity. That's right, no matter how difficult and hard it gets, as long as there is a country, we will definitely be able to wait for the day when hope arrives. Days passed one by one, and the high temperature gradually decreased, dropping from a peak of 60 degrees to the current 48 degrees. This has invigorated the hearts of the people across the country. Although the zombie problem has been somewhat controlled, the transmission speed is too fast, and the current base number is still very large. What surprised me the most was that the three of them were still alive until now. The photos in my phone were taken by Su Shinyo, showing a pack of self-heating rice. "You think we can't live without you, right? Just wait. I will make you pay once the lockdown is lifted." I couldn't help but wonder, where did the self-heating rice come from? I looked back at the surveillance footage and realized there was indeed airdrop assistance for every household. I couldn't help but sigh. They are lucky to be alive. They should be grateful to the country. I simply replied, "Oh, I'll wait for you." I then fell asleep until the afternoon, and when I woke up, it was already 6 o'clock. I turned on the TV and started grilling meat while watching. The meat slices splattered oil on the grill, and the juicy fat burst in my mouth, complemented by the crispy skin, dipped in a bit of sauce. Amazing, it's delicious to the point of explosion. I picked up my phone and took a close-up photo of the grilled meat to send to Su Shinyo. I sent a voice message with a smile. "It's super delicious. Do you want some?" "No way." Surprisingly, this time she didn't reply. I couldn't help but feel curious about this. Why is she ignoring me? Did she die or something? That would be great. Perhaps the Buddhist-like lifestyle has suddenly allowed me to understand the true meaning of life. I no longer dwell on the situation of the three of them, but only wish to protect the beauty in front of me. During this time, I have been binge-watching shows, reading a bit, playing games, and chatting. I also occasionally check the news to see if there are any updates. I learned about the news of Su Shinyo's family of three again from the owner group. Someone is accusing their family of stealing supplies from others. As soon as this was said, countless people echoed in agreement below. I was wondering why there seemed to be fewer supplies lately. Turns out they were stolen. I often see their family sneaking around, so I knew they weren't good people. I was kind enough to share some food with them because I felt sorry for them, but I never expected they would turn out to be such people. I didn't pay much attention and smoothly picked up the pen on the table to sign the contract. At this moment, Su Shinyo stood up and spoke thoughtlessly. "What do you know? I grew up in luxury and can't stand a bit of hardship. What's wrong with you giving us a little? We haven't starved to death, have we?" I couldn't help but facepalm. That statement was just too foolish. As expected, she was soon drowned in the spittle of the masses. The next day, I also saw their final message. They did not change their ways and went to another floor to steal supplies, only to be caught on the spot. The two sides quickly started fighting, and the number of onlookers increased, attracting zombies. Everyone ran in different directions, but only the three of them were surrounded by zombies. The final outcome is easy to imagine. When I heard this news, I couldn't say I was happy, nor could I say I was sad. I just felt an emptiness in my heart. So what does it have to do with me? They brought this upon themselves. They could have survived the apocalypse, but they stubbornly caused their own demise. Who can we blame for this? In the following 3 months, the National Army used drones and other tools to lure zombies in various regions, gathering them in one place for a unified extermination. On the day after the announcement of the lifting of restrictions, the sun was shining brightly, but it was not the terrifying heat of 3 months ago. Instead, It felt warm, I knew it. Hope would come.